Does anyone have BDR's team here set up already? One. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Two. That's great. Nice. How many of you are considering set up the business development team? Sweet. How many of you have problems or challenges actually when thinking about business development or setting it up? If you don't have problems, I cannot help. If you have problems, we're in the same group, okay? I don't have all the answers, but I have frustrations as well, so I'll just share with you like how we're actually going to address it together. Agenda, as said, there will be some challenges. The topic overall of this meeting is expanding the SDR capabilities, right, and knowledges. I would say rather here it's a lot about redefining what does actually BDR mean and how actually it works. So we're going to talk about, first of all, why do we want BDRs to do what they do? And are we actually setting up the basis in the right direction suitable for your business? Or if you just sometimes follow too much what is already said? Second thing, hiring the right profiles. Fight for the talent is nowadays everything, right? Like, where do we actually get people? Where do we get actually good people? Where do we get people that we don't want to actually let go in 3 months as well, right? And then how? So a bit more about enablement and establishing a culture of ownership, which I think also better to ask yourself those questions at the beginning when you're establishing the team rather than when you already have it set and then you think oops, maybe I want to have it differently. What am I going to do right now with all the team I have? So little story about myself, so you know actually where I'm coming from and where my conclusions and experiences are deriving from, so you also know how useful or applicable it's going to be for your business. Rossum itself is document processing organization, so B2B sector, mainly driven by outbound and mainly driven, we're selling towards enterprise organizations, right? So that's exactly the sector, and this is the way how we're setting up our business development team. Myself, I started in sales where I had only a phone in front of me and a printed pieces of paper with my research. Computer was not allowed there. Anyone had similar experience? Nobody?
I had an old computer.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Yeah. You know what's great about it? It cannot get worse. Literally. But I loved it. I really loved every single moment of it, actually calling prospects, bothering them. I didn't really care much about rejections. For me, it was always a challenge, how can I actually make my pitch better? How can I talk to them in the way that they would be interested, they would answer next time? So that's the way how my love started, and that's why right now I have a lot of passion, compassion, empathy towards BDRs and SDRs. Their job is hard and it's not as rewarded as actually usually it should be. So always we need to think twice about try to put yourself in the shoes of those guys. So I started in the very basic B2B sales, but that was just a lot of cold calls and stuff. Then I moved to the beautiful company of social bakers selling super sexy product to a lot of different markets where I had a chance to sell as a in a closing role. And then I started to move, I started to manage the business development team there as well. That was for a period of 4 years, and therefore after Rossum found me. And that was fun, and that is still super fun. I found there 3 BDRs doing SMB qualification of inbound leads. We turn everything upside down. We actually set up the operations going after the outbound enterprise leads. And right now, after year and a half, we have a team of 25 people and 3 managers doing business development globally. Okay, so it was a fun ride, and it is still a lot, right? So that's why speed is our everything, and I will try to make it short. Why does the sales process need business development in general? I think this is one of the fundamental questions. Very many people are just sometimes trying to set up BDRs because some other company has a BDR and they say that this is what I need actually to have, right, to drive my business forward and faster. I had an experience coming to a BDR in an organization and asking, do you know how do you impact the business of the company? And the BDR could not answer the question. It was not in my current company, it was not in a previous one, but I think that unfortunately that happens quite often, and if BDRs don't understand how do they impact their revenue, it's very hard for you to motivate them, and it's very hard for them to actually scale your business as well. So the clearer you set up the plan why do you ask them to do things, and what actually are they impacting, and how are they delivering that impact, the easier it will be for you actually to stay motivated to do all of the activities you want them to do. So ultimately, it's really about boosting the sales and revenues, expanding your market reach, especially if it's initial business stages. So it's a lot about brand awareness, and it's about efficiency. Business development should actually drive more business. If business development is doing some other function, it's probably not set up exactly as it should, and you can actually get much more profit out of it at the end of the day. Key challenges that we actually see when managing the BDR teams: hiring. A lot of things that I'm going to discuss here are actually tied to culture, and it's much more about the culture of setting up the teams rather about making the perfect process and which email works better. I think if you get the culture right, getting everything else is a question actually of engineering rather than soft skills. Hiring is a challenge. The challenge is because BDRs are honestly one of the most difficult profiles to hire. Many actually agencies, for example, SalesDOCk, right? The profile of the companies, they don't even want to hire BDRs. It's not really profitable for them. Super challenging to find, super difficult to make them actually stay in the role for 3 months, especially if they are paid out after, right? So for you to know how to hire, first of all, you need to know whom you want to hire. So then if you really hire the profile, you actually make that person stay in the organization for a longer period of time. The second challenge is retention. Any guess what is the industry benchmark? How long does a BDR stay in the organization? Plus minus?
6 months.
8 months.
Exactly. 6 months, right? And it's a pain, especially if you take it minimum 2 months to ramp them. You ramp them, they're there, and they're gone. But you actually have to deliver your targets, right? What are you going to do about it? Pretty challenging. So, last thing, consistent performance. It's an overall pain in sales, I feel, but this is beautiful because it's a combination of soft skills and then sales engineering. So this is exactly how we can answer with all of the beautiful tools like outreach, having perfect processes, A/B testing, figuring out what works better, and stuff. But a part of those first two, there is nothing much to do on the third part. So that's why I actually want to put so much attention right now for hiring and retention. So how to set it up right? This is the moment of challenging comes, okay? And not everyone will like it, but I really feel that not many organizations have BDRs utilized fully, and I will explain you why. Think about a typical profile of a BDR. If you have him in your company, if you know some BDRs, okay, usually those would be the guys that are really young, they're usually fresh grads, it's their first, second maybe position, right? You're looking for basic skills like communication, business acumen, can they build their relationship? Right now we know that they need to be really good with the digital tools, right? They need to know how to operate within different things really quickly. That's all cool. Millennials, Generation Z. The second thing is what actually motivates Millennial and Generation Z. Very many people still think money can buy it all. The answer is really funny. They can buy it all to an extent. The moment you give them actually good salary, they're starting to ask you for many more things and they're still not happy. But you need to motivate them and you want to retain them for longer than 6 months, right? So what happens then is that actually think how you can address other type of motivation is actually, that was the latest research of the Deloitte from this year. Good work-life balance, learning and development opportunities, feeling valued and sense of belonging, opportunities to progress, meaning the career growth, and then deriving a sense of meaning from work. They want to feel appreciated, they want to feel that they matter, and they want to make sure that they contribute to something, okay? So you imagine that fresh grad, now you have a brighter picture because you also know what does that fresh grad or young specialist actually dream about, okay? And then we come to key responsibilities of a BDRs. What do we actually want them to do? We usually want them to do research, hopefully with automated tools. Lucia, zoom in for all the beautiful things, okay? Then we ask them to do the high level of outreach activities. Sales engagement tools, templates built for them, everything pretty fine. And then we ask them to book the meetings. So you have this fresh grad, full of ambition, a lot of potential, that wants to have meaning at work, booking meetings for ease. And that's you have 6 months retention. And that's exactly one of the problems. okay? Because those people have so much more potential that you can actually leverage and work with, but not always they have enough responsibilities. And interesting enough, responsibilities is something that they actually want because they can do it. They're capable if you did your hiring right. So the most frequent reasons of frustrations: emotionally draining tasks due to high amount of rejections and no responses. Very often, like, guys like to tell me on interviews, like, oh, I'm not afraid of rejections. I'm like, how do you feel about making 100 dials and getting 5 answers? That is much more challenging than actually having a no. Having a no answer is really difficult to handle. Repetitive activities, again, calls, emails, dials, yes, book the meeting, great, but that, like, you know, turns around, and they're also really fast, and they're also using a lot of technology. They always want to have something new and something fun. And then one of the critical ones is lack of visibility in the company and appreciation of the role. Recently, when I was hiring these BDR managers, I was asking them, like, you know, a tricky question, if they feel enough appreciation for the role within the organization. The moment I was telling that, I felt like I was in a therapy session, you know, and I could actually charge the money. Like, oh my God, we're doing so much and nobody actually cares for us. Nobody listens. Nobody gives us enough attention. And their work is hard, okay? And the thing which is interesting, guys, this part, visibility in the company and appreciation costs you nothing, okay? Like literally nothing. Just come to a BDR, say a good word, say that they're doing a great job and actually that their activities matter for revenue. They will feel appreciated. Very often this is not happening. You know why? If the business closed and you did a great job, there's no pipeline, it's BDR's fault. It's a hard reality that happens very, very often. So that's where, like, you know, many people are not able to handle it for quite a long period of time. So talking about the matches, young, ambitious people looking for a meaningful job, requested to do a lot of repetitive tasks with a low recognition on the company level. Not many matches. So reasons for hiring and retention problem are, again, job is repetitive, it's easy to lose the meaning of it, and then, like, learning possibilities are limited as well to a degree. Lost opportunities for the companies, and here comes an interesting thing. You actually have employees that have a lot of potential. You can utilize that potential to your own benefit, avoid retention problem, and not go so much back to hiring, but not many companies are doing it because we're all in the cycles, hey, let's get a lot of excited, passionate BDRs that will just be booking meetings. So how do we actually solve that big trigger problem? Give them more responsibilities. What do I mean by that? At Rossum, for example, BDRs are doing the research, doing the outreach, doing the qualification, which usually takes 2-3 meetings, leading high-level demos. And you know what? They're great, and they're striving at that. Yes, it's B2B, it's enterprise, it's 9 to 12 month sales cycle, it's a long thing. If you actually have, like, you know, sales done in 3 calls, you probably, like, don't want BDR to go so far. But otherwise, if you have a lot of work to do, you have here capable people, let them do that. They will actually find it fun and interesting. They will have more responsibilities. They will be able to learn. And then, if you actually want to grow them within an organization to AM, AE, CS, whatever, you will actually know that they can do much more because they will be better train yourself, right? And actually, it's going to be win-win first for yourself and then for those BDRs as well. Teach them and enable them to do more. That's going to be in the next slide. Don't think that they can just, like, you know, come and pick everything on the flow, especially if your products are actually complicated and complex. Onboarding, that's where it starts. Ongoing training, that's where it has to actually go and move forward. Give them credit and visibility. Guys, this one costs nothing. It's really cheap. But the moment you actually put your top of the funnel as a priority and you actually give them a feeling that they matter, they strive, they blossom. Because again, coming back to motivation, people are not so much driven by money as they're driven by saying, you know what, you just did a fantastic job. It really mattered because of you, that the non-opportunity is going to be actually close won and we're going to have, like, you know, 30% increase in revenue. Okay, helping them to understand the impact of their activities really has something tremendously important for them in their career progression. And believe me, they will remember you in their career much more than any other person. And remember the risk. By not optimizing their work, you're losing potential profit. Meaning that if you have right now a team of BDRs, or if you're planning to hire them, but you're not going to set up this process right and give them enough responsibilities, you sit on the money that you don't use. So, like really, the decision is up to you. Hiring the right profiles, one of my favorite ones. Has anyone heard about Mark Roberge or read the book about the sales of acceleration formula? Somebody? You did, wow. I didn't. I watched the video. The book is in my to-do list, but the video was already enough. Super interesting. He's a former CRO of HubSpot. Basically, what the idea is about is, especially when starting, it's really difficult to figure out like actually what do we need and what are we looking for when hiring. Okay. They did a great exercise, and again, I think like it's just really great to see how engineers are becoming sales leaders, CROs, etc. And this is exactly the case. They're taking everything through engineering perspective. They actually took performance of their people, they overlapped it with skills, and they understood which skills are performing the best. So they started to look for those skills specifically. Okay, we did a similar exercise. We're still in process of doing it. Our team is 1.5 year old, so like there's a lot of like, you know, still like we need a bit more data, but experience is not always all of it, okay? And sometimes like you just really need to watch out how much people can learn. So their coachability, their business acumen, proactivity, passion, and active listening. But this is a top list for Rossum. It might not be actually working for you. Maybe for your business, maybe for your product, you would actually need different skills. The answer is actually in the data. You see somebody is performing, you think it's because of their great personality, etc. Yes, for sure, but also you can actually quantify it, right? You can just overlap the data information that you have and see what would be that top killer profile that you want to hire right now next, and then your probability of hiring the right profiles will increase significantly as well. And one of the things, like, you know, I understand that it might be like, how to say, self-explanatory, but I just see it being handled very often, like not in the great direction. So I just want to, like, you know, to stress it once again. Maximum transparency. Many people, BDRs, when you're hiring them, they're just super excited and they don't really know what are they planning to do and what they're subscribing for. So you have the responsibility to very clearly explain what it is about. And please, don't oversell here, but rather undersell. Because if you're overselling, you're getting people for something that they're super excited about, and then you're facing disappointment. But you're the one that are going actually to handle those disappointments, right? Why would you do that to yourself? So build a clear picture for them. What are they going to find? How exactly that will work? What will be challenging? And again, the more actually you describe them the challenges, the more they would find it like, oh, that's interesting. Because it's difficult, I actually want to do that. Alignment on performance expectations. I'm trying to make sure that my team is performance driven, so I'm very upfront with the KPIs, and I'm trying to help them to understand what those KPIs actually mean even before. And then again, it makes it easier for them to make the right decision. And then diversity. Diversity is not necessarily like, oh, hey, like I have so many different nationalities. Oh, hey, I have this percentage of female in my team. It's really about personalities of people. Yes, at Rossum we have, I think, like 16 different nationalities out of 25 people in BDR team. So it's getting really colorful and fun. At the same time, they're all super different personas. And that helps because then you actually have a lot of critical thinking in the team. So again, depends what do you need for your business and depends how you want to set it up. But more diverse personalities you have, the higher the chances that you will get the right answers quicker if you're open to listen, of course. If you want to have it like, do it as I said, hire everyone the same as you are. Onboarding. Onboarding is like, hey, take a chair and shadow Billy for 3 days is not onboarding, okay? And I'm sure that you know it all, but I just like also want to stress it. Super important point into the whole journey of business development, especially as is their early, like, you know, career. Improves your retention by 80% if you have onboarding set up right. Employees who had a great onboarding experience will actually stay in the company longer, and then plenty of people are leaving the company because of the poor onboarding experience. Again, I am sure that you know it, but if you have a chance to have an onboarding manager that will put the content together and will make sure that onboarding is happening, you will have higher probability that people will stay and that people will actually have much faster, or shorter rather say, ramp period. And ramp period we know costs a lot, especially if they're going to leave the position soon. At the same time, making sure that your managers that are directly responsible for any function, in this case BDRs, involving the onboarding, will make it much, much better and increase the chances of the direct reports being much closer connected to the managers. I had a situation in my career when I came to give not a great news for person, for my BDR, telling him that I'm letting him go during the probation period. Person was devastated. He was not expecting it. And I'm like, how come you didn't expect it? Your performance sucks. Sorry for a better word. You didn't actually have any KPIs that we agreed on, and it's just not going well. He was not expecting it. He didn't see it. And it was honestly my mistake. From that my mistake, what I learned, I need to have everything in black and white, and I'm sharing with you, like, here is just an example. Again, depends on your KPIs, but this is something that actually saves a lot of time and saves a lot of efforts and helps people to know what they're supposed to be working on. So we have probation period success tracker, month by month, key skills that are more like, on the qualitative side, and then you have KPIs that are quantitative side. Yes, we don't expect person to come in and hit the target in month number 1, obvious, but we want to see the progress. The clearer you communicate it, the more you explain them how exactly does onboarding help them to actually achieve those things, why all of those 500 presentations you want them to watch matter, the higher is the success that they will actually do it at the end of the day. After that, well, first of all, thanks God I didn't have to let people go. But second of all, I never had surprise faces why it actually happened. It's clear and it's fair, and it's a collaboration of partnership. It's not like, oh, if I like you, you will stay. If I don't like you, you don't stay. Like, no. There is black and white numbers, and you're the one in charge, being responsible for your performance. A bit of a vanilla slide about best performance practice tips from us as an organization. I think, like, again, just be critical towards the segment of business we are, like, right, and that we're doing a lot of outbound activities for enterprise. We see that reaching out simultaneously to a few different customer profiles, personas, with the aligned relevant messaging is extremely important. There was a question before, at which stage do we need to implement sales engagement tool, and each stage do we need to implement, like, the other tech stack. We had 3 people. We had sales engagement tool, we had research tool, we were changing CRM from HubSpot to Salesforce right now, right? The sooner you get the tools, the more you optimize the efficiency of your team, okay? So having that right, you cannot really do it right if you're copy pasting. You need to have a solution where they can actually have a set of the templates, pick up the right persona and keep moving. Because if you're reaching out just like one by one and hoping that it will work, not going to really, like, perform as quickly as you would like that to. Video messaging. Majority, I don't know how it works for outreach, but majority of sales integration tool actually have the video part is integrated already there as well. So you can just do the video emails. Huge increase of response rate, for sure. Depends also how you make the video. If you make it in a dark room and, like, it's not really clear, like, your face and what you're saying, that's rather creepy than efficient. But we actually see a huge improvement, like, of our response rate and open rate as well with the video messaging. Some of the cadences or sequences, as they call them as well, we have are actually only video related. Multi-touch cadences, I think that this is really basic, right? Calling people 3 or 4 times, not being constant, and, like, actually trying to do it through different channels, not exactly working. For different channels, I mean here emails, calls, LinkedIn, and video, just having multiple of all of it. I love those cases when on the interviews people are telling us, like, are you still doing the cold calls? It's 21st century. I'm like, that's an easy no, at least in my world, okay? For us, like, calls are working quite a lot. And then one thing that honestly I think a trick, and I would highly suggest that, Rossum was the first place where I implemented it with BDRs. One of the key challenges BDRs have is actually setting up the next steps. When they would talk to the prospect, when they would book that meeting, when they would have, like, more and more conversations, but then prospect is not showing up, or, like, we cannot actually reach them, and, like, they're just lost. Upfront contract from the Sandler training did a huge impact on the team of 20 people. Everyone who implemented it seen, like, very high, first of all, show up rate for the meetings. Second of all, giving a prospect a space to say no and not really pushing the deal down their throat, again, helps you to save time. And then also like everyone has this feeling of a partnership instead of feeling like, oh my God, like.
That we are supposed to schedule.
Yeah. So first thing, the team, just bear in mind, so I started with Rossum a year and 8 months ago, and from 3 people we grew into right now like 25. I had 3 people moving into the different roles within the team, and I had 1 person that we had to let go, and I had 1 person leaving himself during the probation period. So I don't know how you want to take the numbers, but like I think we're far beyond 6 months. And I think that's exactly because of the responsibilities that they have, like, right? They actually take care of many more activities, and it's also like, it's much more fun to work because they have so many things to learn and so many things to do. The second question was?
The number of meetings.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. They don't have meetings set as actually KPI because, so for us, we have 3 KPIs, to be honest. We have number of dials as a factor because that helps your people to make money as soon as they come in and finish the onboarding. But this is just a small percentage.
Which is how many?
We have 800 dials, for example, right?
Per month.
Yes. So we see that we know it's low because they usually would make 90, 80 calls per day, but it's achievable and almost everyone's achieved. So you have something small, then actually person can already make the money and feel like, okay, like I actually can get extra money from my KPIs, right? So it's fun. The second one, we have number of conversations because as a small organization, brand awareness for us is extremely important. As right now, as we're working on marketing, BDRs are the ones spreading the word very often, okay? So they will be the one and they will be calling and telling, hey, have you heard about Rossum? Hey, Rossum is that, Rossum is here. Now, year after, we actually very often see the results of that, which is interesting. So this is the second KPI. And the third one, we have amount of pipeline generated. Because our qualification part is going to like far extend, we're able already to put the price tag on the opportunity. So I know if it's like, you know, a $100,000 business or if it's like, you know, $50,000 business that we're going to have with the organization. So they're driving it more like, you know, through the qualify, like, you know, budget pipeline.